Scott Fitzgerald, Congressman Fitzgerald, is standing by on the program. He just got back from the border, and we're going to talk about what he saw there and among other things. And he's on the phone with me right now. Congressman Fitzgerald, I would like to start, number one, by saying hi. Great to have you back on the show. And
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But I do want to start with what is going on with something called Title 42. Title 42 is a regulation that says if you are somebody who potentially has a communicable disease, you're not, or in serious risk of a communicable disease, you're not getting in. And yet last night I just heard that the Biden administration has decided to suspend that prohibition. What do you know?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what we were hearing last week from Border Patrol agents as well as some of the Homeland Security people they were getting indications that that's where the White House was going. And the reason they kept bringing it up with us is because they said this would be literally like taking a bullhorn and announcing to South America, you're welcome to come back in again. So they are scared to death as to, is it going to double, quadruple? What's it going to do to the influx that they're already seeing at a ridiculous rate compared to where they were back in January? So I haven't seen anything definitive yet, but yeah, it does sound like that's happening.
Yeah, it does. And by sound like, last night on Fox News, they had some folks in the administration confirming that was going to be the case. So let's proceed from the assumption that, in fact, we are not going to expel people at the border if, in fact, they are at risk of a serious communicable disease. So that includes COVID. And you had some people who were dissuaded from paying a coyote thousands of dollars who was working for a drug cartel to move somebody through, Central America into Mexico, into the United States. You had people who were dissuaded from doing that. So I think we're not only going to get an influx, but we're also going to get an influx of communicable diseases as well. And I must say, if in fact this turns out to be true, this administration is lying when it says it actually cares about the spread of COVID-19.
So here, and the bigger problem, Vicki, is, so we were at McAllen, Texas, okay, which has been a hot spot for some time now, which is why we were there. And the issue, the Border Patrol agents will tell you, as they work at these ad hoc intake centers, which are nothing more than canvas tents and, some plywood that's been put up for stanchions where they process these people. And what they're telling you is, listen, if Title 42 goes away and we have to admit these people within a 24-hour period by statute, which has been turning out to be 72 hours, they have no idea not only whether or not they're telling them the truth when they say, I'm from Nicaragua or I'm from Honduras or I'm from anywhere else in South America, but they also have no idea what their state of the health is for these individuals. They're not being tested. They're certainly, we don't even know, even beyond COVID, what their health status is. And then they're being released back into the U.S. At an alarming rate. And not only that, but we now are purchasing airline tickets, putting these individuals on jets and dispersing them throughout the entire United States. I mean, the whole thing is just asinine at this point.
So it's actually very, very dangerous at this point. And I'm worried way less about COVID than I am about things like antibiotic resistance tuberculosis, things like that.
Sure.
Because we're not testing anybody for anything. You're not getting a COVID test. You're not getting a TB test. This is basic stuff, but we're not doing that. Why aren't we doing that? What is the argument? What is the rationale from the administration that says not only are we going to have no rules at the border, we're going to take the last rule we had in place and we're going to dynamite that rule as well? What is the rationale from this administration? We know what the real reason is, but what are they saying?
I mean, what they're telling Border Patrol is, listen, manage the situation the best you can. So Customs and Border Protection, as you probably heard, they had 190,000 enforcement encounters just at the southern border this last month. That is something that they are completely unable to keep up with.
That's insane. And I want to point this out again. Enforcement encounter means 190,000 people walked up to Border Patrol and said, I want asylum.
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you exactly what the way it works is they bring them across the river, and the international line is somewhere in the middle of the river. They get to the other bank, and then these people look for the light. They look for these huge mag lights that have been set up because they know as soon as they get there, they just say, listen, I'm from a country of origin in which the U.S. has no issue for not accepting my plea of simply I'm a refugee at this point. So the Customs and the Border Patrol, they have no choice but to simply allow that person to come in. So they're not running from the light. They're looking for the lights to make sure that they end up in custody. That's how on top of its head it is right now.
I was speaking with Glenn Grothman, Congressman Grothman, last week, and he had indicated that another one of the fun little tricks that goes on is the coyotes. These are the people, when you say those people who bring people across, so we're talking about people who have largely been paid by drug cartels to do this in order to distract Border Patrol when they want, let's say, folks who are not going to be trying to make a refugee claim, throw a kid into the river. Do something that requires the assistance, the emergency assistance, life-saving assistance of U.S. authorities. And that way you have just taken, whoever might be able to monitor a situation off their post, and it makes it really, really easy for really, really bad people to get in.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, Glenn's right. Whether it's a boat that's commissioned by the state of Texas or by the Border Patrol, I mean, basically what they're doing is going up and down the river looking for individuals that either didn't make it across or different types of vessels that probably aren't going to make it across. So they're basically trying to save people from drowning. They're not arresting anybody. They're not holding anybody. It's more of a humanitarian type of mission for a lot of those individuals that are right on the river itself.
Where are they going? You said that they're being put on planes. We've heard the reports that the administration is taking people to Air Force bases, U.S. military Air Force bases, putting them on civilian planes that have been contracted, presumably with taxpayer money, and sending them wherever. Does wherever include Wisconsin?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you are, and you don't even have to be on a military base at this point. I mean, they're making their way through Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, through the Houston airport, through Love Field in Dallas. I mean, they're now on commercial airlines. So when you board a commercial airline, which I've done many, many times over the last 6 months, you will see people that will have an envelope in their arms, and they're clutching it tightly. And typically, it's got a destination written on that envelope with a black magic marker. And I mean, they're common destinations. It says Chicago. It says Dayton. It'll say Detroit. It'll say, I haven't seen one with Milwaukee on it, but there's no doubt in my mind that there's some type of sponsor at the other end, which who knows who that is and what their motive is, that is saying, yeah, we'll accept this individual. Some of them, I've been told that there are some organizations now that have some type of religious affiliation that are accepting these individuals, but that is absolutely happening right now.
So who are the organizations and who is paying the organizations? Again, presumably I am guessing it's taxpayers. I'm guessing it's through the administration will print some more money so that we can take nonprofits and turn them into delivery services for people who should not be in this country. And deliver them into the country where they then get assistance in signing up for social services, et cetera. So you've got all kinds of pressures. You've now got additional pressure on the tax base, the municipal tax base, the state tax base. You've got additional pressure now on education when services are not available for that many foreign people, particularly if they have children of school age. You've got pressure on federal social service dollars. You've got pressure on Medicaid dollars here in Wisconsin. You've got pressure coming from everywhere, not to mention that police agencies are not actually able to deal with this either because not everybody is here because they would just like a better economic deal.
No, we didn't even get into what Homeland Security had briefed us on, which was, 1,000 pounds of fentanyl came across the border just in this last month that they had seized themselves. And they're telling us they figure the percentage is only about 20% is what they're actually catching coming across right now.
1,000 pounds.
Isn't just
how much?
1,000 pounds.
How many people can 1,000 pounds of fentanyl kill?
a sugar packet of fentanyl could kill 100 people easily, if not more. So, I mean, that's how deadly, and it's laced in these other drugs as well. They were telling us stories about, even marijuana or certainly cocaine that's laced with fentanyl as well. So, I mean, it's not just limited to what people think they're ingesting. It's much broader than that.
So, Scott, this has got to be a boon for the cartels. They've got a whole new business model, human smuggling, but it's just that much easier to get to have them get a foothold in the United States and a power base in the United States. I was actually reading last week that they're worried there's going to be a full-scale cartel war on the southern border that absolutely will spill into Texas, that absolutely will spill into Arizona, and we are not prepared for it. We don't have the law enforcement resources to deal with it.
Not only that, I'll tell you, one of the stories that we picked up on that really just blew me away was they were saying that the cartels are so organized at this point, going back to January, that they have individuals that are actually wearing color-coded bracelets so that when they get to the other side, that the cartels still kind of can declare ownership of individuals as they make their way through that process. So this isn't just a few thugs here or there. I mean, the level of organization is even scaring, some of the Border Patrol who are saying we've never seen anything like this before.
So you had like a state fair bracelet, huh? Where it's got a different color.
Exactly.
And it says, I am with the Sonora cartel. And that person gets on a plane or gets on a bus and gets shipped to Milwaukee or gets shipped to Rockford. And now you have got somebody who's, quote, owned by a cartel living in, the bucolic Midwest. How's that going to go?
And they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait for the wall to cease and the construction to cease, because what was happening was the new wall that was being built under President Trump was funneling a lot of these individuals into specific parts of the border, which made it much easier for Border Patrol. But what's happened now is because all that has come to a screeching halt, they're kind of back to what they saw before. Smaller groups that are coming across the river by raft, and then at about 9:30 at night, as soon as it starts to get dark, they move in groups of 50, 100 to the intake centers. So it's a whole different deal since January than what the Border Patrol was seeing before.
So you got Border Patrol basically are just, I guess, the American Welcoming Committee for folks coming into the United States. And then you've got ICE handcuffed with rules of engagement that they really can't do anything, can't detain people, can't deport people. Just heard again about the suspension of deportations, even for people with serious crimes. This is the United States, and it is, for all intents and purposes, a non-story, because but for conversations like this or right-leaning media, you're not hearing anything about it.
No, and there's the humanitarian part of it. Like I said before, I mean, we saw tiny children. We saw infants coming across where people had breached this levee and had been walking down this path for many, many miles. I mean, we saw hundreds of people that were just continuing to migrate completely unchecked. I mean, it was an eye-opener, and it was disturbing to see.
Thank you for being on the program today. I appreciate you guys going down and doing the job that the Vice President of the United States, a.k.a. the Border Czar, refuses to do, and that is going to see it for yourself. I do appreciate the time, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki.
Congressman Scott Fitzgerald on the program. We're going to take a break here on the Vicki McKenna Show. I will be right back.